cohesion on the ground, because that's where they are, and specifically because they are the experts. In as far as Alexkor and the Richtersveld community, it's also very important to note that the claim was settled through a court order in 2007. And this court order had this deed of settlement, which was approved by Cabinet and implemented these 9 companies that created almost 50 directors. And this process was led by DPE and Alexkor, again, as the people on the ground, and understanding that this community, unlike other communities, actually received the right to the mining, because at the time of dispossession, they had already been identified as a community that mined. There again was an obligation on Alexkor to ensure that they bring the communities into the fold, make sure that the obligations that Alexkor and DPME took responsibility of implemented, were able to implement. Unfortunately, a lot of things that were committed did not happen. And as a result, as the Department of Agriculture, Rural Development and Land Reform, we find ourselves now having to focus on what can be done and what can't be done. For me, what is important is that it would have been helpful if Alexkor would have come to give a presentation, and DPE a presentation on the status of the issues that were highlighted, because I don't think it's the first time that we've had to come and present to the portfolio committees on Richtersveld specifically. And at some point, DPE had a project plan on trying to address a lot of the issues that are raised here, including a possibility of simplifying the structures, because it was agreed then that it appears that the structures are complex, too complex for a community like Richtersveld. And so we should focus on trying to review. And so because it was a cabinet decision led by DPE, it has to go back to court for review. So the Department of Agriculture's role was to deal with the question of the instability of this communal property association, which is what has happened now, where the CPA has been placed under administration. However, in order for this whole process to succeed, we need our partners to assist us in ensuring that the commitments that were made involving the community in the obligations that were part of the settlement still continue. On the issue of the number of claims that have been settled, we've settled 90% of the claims. I will make sure that I send the information to the committee, and we are left with about 6,000 claims that are pure outstanding, where we are still doing some research and we're trying to finalize, and then we've got about 1,000 that are phased projects. That is the balance of the claims that are outstanding in the old order, that are those that are 1998 claims. So the intention of lodging a claim in the context of Honorable Dlamini is to try and attempt to redress, but the Commission's role is to acquire the land if it's available for acquisition, or provide alternative redress. And it's then the other role players in government or even outside of government who have to assist the communities so that there is sustainability, because land that we acquire can be tourism, it can be mining, it can be urban land, for example, like in an area like District 6 in the Western Cape. The timelines, I think that also can be given overall, but that has to happen in collaboration with all of the stakeholders. As we've indicated, in terms of the Safcol claims, we are part of the master plan. And so we are being guided by a DFFE. And our commitment is that from our side, if you look at the table that we presented, we've already identified exactly where we are in our process. And a lot of the claims have progressed to where we now need Safcol and our other partners to tell us what type of interface with the claimant communities is going to happen and how they can help the communities benefit. With regard to the 21 million, as we've already indicated with KAMoeketsi, the payment is already happening. So usually depending on the number of households and the beneficiaries that are involved, we pay progressively because we have to verify each household so that the money can get paid to the correct originally dispossessed person if they are still alive. And if they're not alive, we have to understand the family tree and pay to the direct descendants thereafter. But there is a lot of progress there, so that does not become a barrier to dealing with the aspect that relates to the land. And again, the issue of the 21 million is calculated either based on a historic valuation at the time of dispossession or a standard settlement offer that is based on the housing quantum that is aligned to human settlement. So the amount is really for improvements and the land that is going to be allocated, that's where the focus is. So it is a combination of financial compensation and land acquisition. So it's not just about the financial compensation that goes to the households. And I think that some of the questions I think might be responded to by Alexkor themselves and maybe Safcol. And then on the question of the potential leaseback models that were there, yes, we had leaseback models. In some instances they've worked and in some instances they have not worked. Because as you are aware, Chairperson, we have settled some of these claims. And though they have been settled, the part of post-settlement has not happened, and so the communities are not happy. So that's why we're saying let's upgrade the settlement model by doing this pilot so that as all of the stakeholders, we can go to KAMoeketsi and see how best can we ensure that we avoid the issues of conflicts that we've seen in other settlements in the past, and how we can make sure that there is meaningful benefit to the communities, because what usually creates conflict is when communities are told that they have been settled, but the previous or the current landowner continues to benefit from the settlement and that they are not seeing meaningful benefit. That's usually what creates the conflict. We will ensure, I think, from our side in dealing with the Safcol claims as part of the project, give timelines in terms of how quickly we can deal with each of these claims. And again, the how quickly we can deal with that depends on how quickly our partners are able to assist us in agreeing to release some of the shares that these communities have in the partnerships that are concerned. I'm aware also, Chair, that there might be some forensic investigations that are ongoing around Richtersveld. I think I'm responding on Richtersveld as well because it started as a restitution process in 2007. And so although it is now an issue that deals with monies that were released then and obligations, we still have to keep oversight on it because the community broadly or largely has not necessarily benefited, and we're trying to assist in the issues of verification if they are outstanding, as well as ensuring that we support the department on the compliance. I'm hoping that I've responded to most of the issues, but if I haven't, I would appreciate that my the other colleagues will support me to pick up on all of those that I have not responded to. Maybe I'll hand over to Khotso. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you, Your colleague. I think.
Can I come in, Honorable Chair?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I was looking for you.
Okay, thank you very much, Honorable Chair. Honorable Chair, I'm going to try to deal with some of the issues. I've noted that the Chief Land Claims Commissioner has addressed some. And then through your permission, Chair, Mr. Mashune, Itumeleng Mash, who is directly involved with this process, will also come in, to go deeper into some of the issues. Chair, I think I can't agree more with you. The issue of the prolonged process, I think is a matter of serious concern to everyone. From our side, Chair, I think the issue here, we cannot safely say within this particular time frame, everything, especially from the side of the CPA, everything, will be in order. Like I said earlier, Honorable Chairperson, our main objective here is to make sure that the CPA is regularized, and that process has started. Normally, Chair, the conflicts within, CPAs, I will say, they never come to an end. So I don't want to come here and say, Chair, I can safely say by within 3 months or within a year, all the disputes, will have been resolved, because like I said, CPA by their very nature, they are conflict ridden. And also, Chairperson, we agreed that we need to have an integrated interdepartmental approach. We have been working very well with DPE Chair. I am aware, Honorable Chair, that there was a task team. The request that we made in the last engagement with the portfolio committee was that at some point, Chairperson, please consider inviting, I know the DG in the office of the Premier Northern Cape was, convening a task team that was focusing on the transfer of properties to the local municipality from Alexkor to the Richtersveld local municipality. So at some point, Chair, please consider inviting the what you call the provincial government through the DG of the province. Honorable Gumede, on the issue of council, I think your observation is correct. I can guarantee you on this one, disgruntled members, for as long as politicians in the name of councillors are there, some of these disgruntled members, they will use this, I'm not suggesting that councillors are not supposed to be part of this. Like we said, this is the call of the CPA and the beneficiaries themselves. We as a department, we are just there to make sure that the CPA complies with the Act and their own constitution. So I'm aware that there will be some opportunistic elements within the community who will use the issue of councillors participating in the CPA, to further their own, interest. And then the other thing, Honorable Chair, is the whole issue of, I think CLCC touched on the issue of the investigations. I don't want to talk about this because we have not been briefed on this one. But I want to talk to the issue raised by Honorable Isaac around the membership list. It's very difficult, to say this issue will be resolved within a particular time frame. It's very difficult. This thing of the CPA, honorable members, you find that we come in, we bring everybody. In this case, it will be the department supporting the administrator to make sure that the membership list or the beneficiary list of Richtersveld community is updated. Remember, one of the requirements when we measure whether a CPA is compliant or not is to have an updated membership list or beneficiary list. And this process must be undertaken on an annual basis. So many a times, we spend time, dealing with disputes pertaining, to the issue of our membership list. So it's very difficult to say they will be resolved, once we have intervened. Even now, the list is under dispute. I think I need to clarify the issue of DM Squatcher. Honorable Malinga, I was saying before the CPA was placed under judicial administration, and even last time I mentioned this thing, that DM Squatcher has been there, I think I was with him there on 4 occasions, trying to resolve, issues relating to the CPA. That was prior to the CPA being placed or being put under judicial administration. One of the reasons why DG, approached the court was to say, at the level of the ministry, there was this, intervention, it failed. There was this intervention by DG, it failed. Even the current MEC of the Northern Cape of Kokta, who was the executive mayor there at the district of Namakwa, he went there with DM Squatcher, all those interventions, they failed. So I'm not saying that after the administration, DM Squatcher was there to try and intervene. And then the issue of the framework, Honorable Chabalala, like CLCC said, at the end, when this claim, was finalized, the community, opted for a CPA as a legal entity. This is not the call of the department, as far as I know. Is the community itself, that decides on the type of entity that they want, either a trust or CPA. Even the framework around some of these things, my understanding is that it's a choice of beneficiary themselves, not us, because we are very careful, honorable members, to meddle in the affairs of a CPA, because the act is very clear to say this is what the Director General must do, not to interfere in the running of these things, some of these guys, I'm sorry, Honorable Chair, some of the beneficiaries, they will come to your good selves and say, officials under the DG, they are interfering. And that's what we don't want, We are there just to guide, to ensure that the act is complied with, as well as the constitution of the CPA. Honorable Magaxa, through your permission, can I allow Mr. Mashune to deal with other issues that I have not covered? Thank you very much, sir, Chair. Mr. Mashune?
All right, thanks, Sidi. Good morning, honorable members. I will only maybe be touching on the issues that maybe Sidi you've left out, but I just wanted to emphasize the fact that insofar as the CPA is concerned, honorable members, the CPA is in order, and which is the obligation of the department. However, we are realizing now where the problem is now insofar as the structures, which is your trust and the companies. And where we need from one of the questions of Honorable Kachalia to say, what is it that maybe you could do to assist us in fast-tracking some of the processes? The involvement of Department of Justice insofar as helping on fast-tracking the registrations of the trustees, DTI insofar as registrations of the directors after the elections that we have done. So those departments' interventions will also help us so that we don't find ourselves being the only playing referee together with DPE. Insofar as the question around whether the directors are they being paid, they are expected to be getting sitting allowance. However, the challenge that I think the court order did not take probably into consideration, and hence we are saying these structures are complex. Some of these structures don't have their own bank accounts, and they are expected to be getting sitting allowances from another entity. Now, if that entity doesn't have or is not fully constituted, you'll find that now we are being faced with a situation where always for all, because these people are coming from 4 different towns with their challenges of distance, for them to come together, it's also a challenge of transport or accommodation. Now, for you to get them together, we are faced with those challenges of not getting sitting allowance and or maybe booking for them to come and attend meetings. I think that's the only other matter that maybe Honorable Malinga asked. It's around what could have led to the community not being happy with the politicians. And CD, you were emphasizing correctly to say this could be some of the things that led to this administration. Honorable members will remember that Alexkor was also exposed to the issues of state capture. And there's always a perception around some of the members that are now the current councillors having gone to Dubai, and now they are on the structures, and there's these allegations to say why this one, why that one. So it's all those things to which then the community would say we don't want, we are dealing with perceptions, and like I've reported last time, yes, we understand that conflict is inevitable since it's part of life, but it's just the perception sometimes to which we need to deal with. Although the founding documents do not restrict a councillor being appointed there, but as leaders, sometimes just to calm the situation, we avoid creating perceptions that are not needed. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you, Department, for your response. I would like to give the Deputy Minister, but before, I just want to check with the Commissioner. Though I will allow the Deputy thereafter, but just to clarify, because she raised a point that to me sounds like shifting the blame to the Department of Public Enterprise. But according to my limited knowledge, this issue of finalization of the list of legitimate beneficiaries, to me, is solely the responsibility of the Department of Agriculture, Land Reforms and Rural Development, not necessarily the Department of Public Enterprise. Therefore, to me, I think that if I heard you wrongly, you will have to correct me. But I think the issue of beneficiaries and with that legitimate list of beneficiaries is supposed to be cleaned and processed and finalized by the Department of Agriculture, Rural Development, rural land reforms and rural development. Let me go to the Deputy Minister, because your hand has been up for some time.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. Pardon me, because of my network, I will just, hopefully I'm audible. I will not activate the video. I think, Chair, I wanted as well just to come in at this point. Firstly, though, appreciate the presentations that have been made and indicate that we from DPE, we do have the department. We also had in our delegation the CEOs, the CEO of Safcol, as well as the interim CEO at Alexkor. But Chair, having said that, it struck me as the time for questions was opened up, and the responses, the initial set of responses, that actually it could serve the committee better if we compelled the two departments out, even add a third one, which has a role it's playing in this, the Department of Forestry, Fisheries and Environment, particularly on the forestry side, because I am aware, out of engagements with that department, they would be acting on, in some capacity, on behalf of the claimants, insofar as those forestry packages whose matters have been resolved, and that Safcol is acting, is really a management company that has got to pay certain dues to the community via the vehicle that is supervised at the Department of Forestry, Fisheries and Environment. But secondly, in respect to specifically the matters to do with Alexkor, it's very clear that the institutional arrangements that were envisaged as part of the deed of settlement, they are indeed, as the officials said, very comprehensive and complex, if I use their words. But I think it could serve the community well, as I was saying, if we could be compelled to come back to the committee in the time that could be prescribed to present on a uniform presentation on, firstly, the experiences, the challenges observed, as well as the solutions to those problems. Because the temptation to come in a meeting like this and do finger pointing is very rife, but I don't think it will serve the purpose. The other would be saying this to try and defend. We don't need that. I think we need having all the agency to do with the resolution of some of these not to be prolonged, so that there is certainty both on the part of the beneficiaries, but also as well on the part of some of the state institutions that are still operating in such environments. It strikes me that it would serve the committee well if we could compel for that. I'm just suggesting, because I imagine together with the minister, both ministers affected in these departments, we come with one mind on how we're dealing with that. It's one government, after all, we're talking about. It was in cabinet that there was a decision made in respect of the deed of settlement. Surely, as I listen to it, it's for people who are struggling with driving a motorcycle, who must now suddenly drive a fighter jet, if one can make that kind of extrapolation. I think let's, in my view, we can serve this process better if we could come compelled to have to present one presentation here, and our duty it be to create for these different entities of government to come together first and come and make a single presentation to the committee on the concerns the committee has expressed. That would be my suggestion, Chairperson, without closing out any further engagements. I'm sure the CEOs are here. They would have wanted to say something in terms of their own experiences in this regard. But in my view, it would still be one view against the other without necessarily having a single view of government presented here. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, TM. I think you are helping. You are helping. That you will need to have that session, but with both departments have to present something that they are at the same wavelength in terms of understanding the content. Now, let me, because I think we're at the tail end of the meeting, go back to the DG. If the DG has anything to fix up.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair, for the opportunity. I think my colleagues have really expanded in terms of the issues, and I think DM has also guided in terms of the next processes. What we will do is that in terms of the timelines that we had committed to, we will then share those with the portfolio committee. Otherwise, I'm settled, Chairperson. Thank you very much, Honorable Chair.
Thank you. Honorable members, I think now we have landed at the end of our session. And let me take this opportunity to thank everybody, the Department of Agriculture, Land Reforms, and Rural Development for their positive response to our request to have this session with, and their preparedness for this meeting and the presentation made. And we hope to meet again at the fashion which has been proposed by the Deputy Minister. We will try to have that session because our intentions is not just to go and make our presence in these state-owned entities and meet these communities and come back and not assisted them in order to achieve the objective. We don't want also to be just part of the stats of members of parliament who move around and come back with no solution to the problems and challenges facing these communities. With those words, we really appreciate your presence in this session. And also want to thank the minister, though he's no longer here now, but the fact of the matter is that the minister did attend this meeting, though I understand perhaps under duress because ministers are always called here and there, and they have to be like Holy Spirit and be present everywhere. Also, the CEOs of Alexkor and the Safcol, thank you for attending this meeting. Therefore, honorable members, let me release all our invitees and only the members left so that we finalize our agenda. Can we release our invitees and give a standing ovation while they are leaving?
Thank you, Chair.
Thanks.
Thank you, Chair.
Yeah, I hear you, Secretary.
No, Chair, I was saying that we may conclude the meeting because the minutes will do it next week.
Oh, okay. Honorable members, my thinking was that there will be presentation of the minutes of the previous meeting. The secretary is saying we will be able to do that in our next meeting. Therefore, I don't have any reason to keep you here. We still have to go to the sitting of Parliament at 2 o'clock. Therefore, the meeting stands to be adjourned. I thank you.
Don't leave the chair.